Hey guys, it's Heather from Tomatoes, Poppies, and Everything Gardening. You can see I've got my seed starting station right here behind me set up. I'm ready to start putting soil and seeds and starting my summer garden. But I've got a lot of questions about my indoor tomato. So I thought, um, before I get set up with everything going on here with my seeds, how about I take a minute to do a quick little video and talk about my little buddy. Can y'all tell I'm a proud mom of this little tomato plant? So he had to move down to the ground because, I needed the space behind me to put my seed starting station. And this tomato was growing in my bay window all winter, and it's still alive. And it's been such a shocking experiment. I'm so happy with this plant. I would say at this point it is about 4 feet tall. So I wanted to make a little video and talk about how things are at the current moment. I know I've made a few other videos about this plant experiment and talk about how I care for it, because I've gotten a lot of questions on how do I keep this tomato alive in my kitchen, in my house. So let's flip the camera. We're going to look a little closer at my little buddy here and answer some questions. Okay, so this plant is a Tasmanian chocolate dwarf indeterminate heirloom tomato plant. I started this from seed late July 2022. No, not 2020, 2022. So last July, I'd say mid to late July, I wanted to do an experiment to see if I could grow a dwarf tomato outdoors from seed and have it produce before, the cold weather set in. And so I had two plants. The one in the most sun did grow to maturity, did produce. And then I had this one that was more part sun, and he was not ready to bear fruit, but he was a nice size sapling, seedling, not sapling, seedling. And I was like, you know what? I want to see if I can continue his growth indoors. So that is why this whole experiment started. And it's done great. So I did pot it up once. It came inside, and it was probably at that time in about a 12-inch pot in diameter. And then I potted him up into this beautiful glazed pot that I got for my birthday for my daughter. And it's probably more like a 14 to 16-inch pot. So he did get potted up once since he's been inside. He could really use another potting up, but I'm hoping if he is still alive come like mid-April, I will harden him off and put him outside. I would suspect at that time he will start to develop disease and have pest pressure issues. He's been, perfectly healthy in the house because there's no issues for him to deal with. He does get really dry at this point because our house is on the dry side. So I would say I'm watering the plant at this size, at this state, about 1.5+ gallons a week of water. And he does drink it up. And within, 5-6 days, he is completely dry. And then it's time to start that whole process over again. So, you just have to keep an eye on, just like any other tomato plant. Look at the leaves. If they start to curl in, they're getting dry. My camera's not focusing. So he has been in kind of a state of dryness his whole time in here. I've struggled with keeping him actively hydrated. I don't normally prune dwarf plants, but he is pruned because of the dryness in the house. From the bottom up, he started dropping one leaf set at a time, his leaves, as he, was just trying to preserve growth, I guess. So that's kind of where we're at now. He has lost several leaf sets along the way, and eventually, you know, he'll start to lose more because it's just getting dry. And that's okay because he is still actively growing and making more leaves and more buds and fruits. So that leads us to our next question. How can you grow a tomato plant in your house without bees or pollination? And that's because tomato plants are self-pollinating. They don't really need pollination. But what you do need to do, because it is self-pollinating, you need to shake your plant. So, you know, a few times a week, I'll do this. Not every flower bud will be pollinated. And so when they don't get pollinated, they look like this. And then they just kind of shrivel up and die, and you can just pinch them off. And so part of keeping this plant healthy, I'll come through here every now and then, and I'll look for little buds that didn't get pollinated and just pinch them off. Because I don't want to waste any energy producing anything that's not going to be viable eventually. Like there's a couple right there. Both of those are useless. This whole little section here could get pruned off. And that's probably what I'll do here in a little bit. Another thing to do to keep your plant healthy, and this is for outdoors as well. I do this outdoors. Once my plant has started, you know, it has its fruit, and as soon as that fruit blushes, I will pick. I left this on here because I knew I was going to make this video, but I would have picked this 2 days ago. As soon as I see any sign of blushing, that is when I go ahead and pick my tomatoes. Even outside, it's actually more important outside because of all of the squirrels and deer and chipmunks that I have to deal with, and bugs. So we will go ahead and pick this guy while we're on video. Let's see, because the same thing. You don't want to waste the plant's energy on a fruit that can ripen on the counter. You might as well just go ahead and divert that energy to other. Look, like this little guy. He's going to get more nutrients now, more, you know, hydration. So you just want to keep those things in mind. I do have some more babies here. We just have to look for them. Oh, look at that guy. So I've got fruit in different states. Here's another baby right there. Isn't he cute? I still love just coming in here and rubbing the stems and smelling that fresh summer smell. It is just, oh, there's another baby. There's another baby. So I got 2 babies up here. I need to go through and trim off all the dead buds and extra foliage that doesn't really need to be there at this point. That's kind of dry like that. Okay, so then on to our next question. How do you feed? So at this point, you know, I have already picked 4 fully mature, 4 fully ripened on the counter tomatoes. 3 have been eaten. Now this one, I'm going to let him ripen a few more days. Then I will eat him. So you do have to feed your plant. You do. For me, with this experiment, I have found he does need fertilizer just like any tomato plant outdoors, but it's so important because I'm controlling everything for this plant, what goes into that pot. That means hydration and fertilizing. So once my plant started fruiting, I started adding in a blooming fertilizer. So you can see there's no nitrogen here. It's just, so it's nitrogen, potassium, and phosphorus. So it's just potassium and phosphorus and potassium. So this is going to help with your fruiting and your bloom. So he started getting this, I don't know, probably like whenever I first picked that first fruit, maybe a little bit before that, I started feeding with this. And I also just use a generic kind of non-smelling liquid fertilizer. Because of my dog, Tonto, I cannot use any like smelly stuff in the house, or he will try to eat the soil. So that's why I've kind of got these chairs here too, to kind of block him away from drinking the water in the drip pan down there, because I did just fertilize yesterday, and even though it doesn't smell, I didn't want to take any chances. So let me think if that's all of the questions I've been getting. So about 1, maybe up to 2 at this point, gallons of water a week. I am feeding it probably every other week, rotating some of these fertilizers. So it gets sun from my bay window, and I also have kept a grow light over it. And the grow light is on at least, I would say at least 8 to 12 hours a day, and I usually do that at night. Now that this plant has moved out of its bay window location, I probably will still keep this on. I have to fix the height. I haven't finalized the light position there yet because I just moved it down to the floor. Probably 8 to 10 hours a day is going to still be fine, because the plant is so big at this point, it can absorb more light from more leaves. So it'll probably do fine with just 8 to 10 hours from that light overhead of it. And then it's still going to get a lot of light here from the window. And once I turn on my growing station lights, there could be some light leakage from there that will also benefit the plant. So I think that is it. I don't know. Will I do this again? Maybe. Honestly, I just started the experiment to see if I could. And now that I know that I can, I don't know. Maybe. It's been nice to have these 4 tomatoes, and I have a feeling I'm going to have maybe at least 3 to 5 more in the next 4 to 6 weeks. So yeah, I think it's something to consider. I don't know if it's just this variety that did so great. Maybe other dwarfs that are indeterminate will do equally as well. It's worth looking into. So if you do grow a plant in your kitchen or in your home and it's able to survive the winter and produce fruit, let me know. Comment below if you've done this before, what varieties worked for you. That's it, guys. And for those who did respond to my 150 subscriber video and asked for seeds from this plant, I am getting those processed and packaged, and I will get those to you soon in the mail. So that's going to be it today, guys. Thank you so much for watching, and maybe towards the end I'll make one more video on this plant. Maybe it'll be the video where I move it to the outdoors to have his final run in his life cycle, because I really don't know how long it would be normal to keep a tomato plant alive. But that's all, guys. I'll talk to you soon. Bye.